Hello, my name is Roshan Narayan, and thank you for joining us on In20. If you're watching us on
Sit
YouTube,
in
do
front of that back four and protect and pass the ball very, very simply. He is brilliant at that. If you put length in that.
I'm glad you are safe and sound in your car, Danny, because all jokes aside, the first topic is a bit heavy. And, the whole basis is have it light and easy, but it's quite scary when you come across an article that says that Chris Smalling was robbed at gunpoint. He was in his house with his family. His wife witnessed it all because of his Rolex watch or things that he had in his house in Italy. But during your playing days, were you ever, in a situation, and God hope you weren't, but were you in a situation where you thought to yourself, like, oh my God, people know I'm making money. I must be a target?
Not really, if I'm honest. I was trying to think back of anything sort of similar. I mean, you obviously you choose where you want to live. You have alarm systems in place and all things like that. I had gates at the front of the house. That was mainly to keep the kids in, by the way, because we live on a busy road. So people say, I said, well, yeah. So the gates were there to stop the kids running out into the road. It wasn't so much of a security issue from the other perspective. But no, obviously, it's a very, very sort of sad world that we live in. At times, and when people are doing that, and let's be honest, the Rolex watch isn't worth that much. To go to it, to go to the effort, of obviously getting a gun and all those types of things, that's quite serious crime for very little return, because you're not going to sell that. It's not going to be sold for hundreds of thousands or millions, isn't it? And it's going to be on the black market. So yeah, it's a sad time, but we've seen it. We've seen it before, haven't we? Players have been away. Obviously, social media didn't exist in my day and age. People still knew, but I think it's much easier to find out where people live. I think you have to take responsibility for yourself at times and put certain security measures in place. But it's like anywhere, if you're going to appear on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and people are going to see inside your houses, it's always going to create some kind of jealousy. And if people see that you have nice things, not that it's your own fault, but sometimes you can make yourself more of a target. And so I'm not trying to blame Small in any way, shape, or form. It'd be
Yep.
like when we were in Brazil. You were told, don't go out wearing watches, don't go out wearing jewelry,
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
make yourself a target. Don't advertise how much. Don't advertise your wealth. Just enjoy it to yourself. And I'm not saying that Smalling did that, but I think as a high
There's this
profile
notion if you're
person,
a footballer, you're paid
yeah,
millions.
you have to. It's not right, but you have to take those sort of precautions at times.
Okay, you take the Beckhams who have the financial capability of hiring their own Navy SEALs for personal protection. But when it comes to that, I mean, I won't say average footballer, but there always will be this notion whereby, as you mentioned now with social media, that you are a target, be it for your riches or just somebody having a go at you because they want to take you down because perhaps they're jealous of your success. So, from your experience, how do you arm yourself professionally,
But
emotionally?
but then but then so is every CEO, of a big company,
No, but
that
not
is
every
listed.
CEO is on TV every week, Danny. There's a big difference.
No, but lots of newsreaders are media people. They're all, and everybody assumes that everybody's earning absolutely fortunes, and people like that. Everybody is tracked in this day and age because everyone knows their whereabouts because they're posting it all over social media at all times. They know when they're not in their house and all these types of things. People are doing magazine shoots, and Instagram posts. Saying this is what I've got. This is who's given me this week. Uh, the world has changed. From that perspective, I think it's probably always gone on. Again, we hear about it more now. You know, when was the last time we heard about this? Really, Di Maria when he was at Manchester United, I think was robbed.
No,
Um, or, or,
even when he was at PSG, was it Di Maria or one of the PSG players during the game, and Leonardo had to come down the staircase and tell
but
Pochettino that he has to be substituted.
if you think about all these footballers with wealth, and it happens actually quite rarely, in terms of
Mm.
those numbers. Actors, actresses will always be they'll be in the same boat. but it will happen. You know, people get robbed quite regularly. You know, and unfortunately, it's one of those things. But we don't hear about it because they're not famous. You know, because it's not in that. You know, they're not in that situation. So again, you know, you have to understand that if you're gonna be a footballer, if you're gonna make money out of being a footballer and being famous, for want of a better word, then you know you are going to be a target. You know, you are going to be a target for abuse. You know, you are going to be a target for those types of things, and you just have to protect yourself accordingly as best you can.
Just be tactful with the way you do things. Fair enough. Okay, we wish him the best, and hopefully this is not a scar on his family, especially his wife, because it's a horrific thing
that
to
would
go
be my
through.
biggest concern. I think is, you know, if it happened to me, I would deal with it, and I would be able to sort of rationalize it and sort it. But it's when your wife and children, or you know, family members, they've seen it, you know, that the scarring it has on them and the concerns that they will have constantly now looking over their shoulder for, I would guess, several years, you know, and always having that fear of not being safe in their own home. You know, I think, and I know people that have been personally robbed at gunpoint. It has serious effects, you know, long-term effects. So, you know, it's really not nice. And I think it's even worse for family members.
Like I said, I know you mean this as well when I say it. We wish him the best, as well as his family and his wife in particular. But let's move on into football. He used to be at Manchester, the city itself, and Manchester City made a lot of changes in their FA Cup fixture against Chelsea. Was that disrespectful to Chelsea? Was that pure arrogance from Pep Guardiola thinking that, listen, my squad is good enough?
I don't think it was arrogance, and I don't think it's disrespectful. It was still a very, very strong team. You know, when I look at that team, it was still, there wasn't a bad player in there. Mendy at left back would have been the only one that you sort of think, well, that weakens it slightly. But, you know, Cancelo comes back in, Kevin De Bruyne plays, Rodri plays still, Jesus comes in, Raheem Sterling comes in. You know, there were some good players, very, very good players in that side. Torres and Mendy may be the only two, maybe the goalkeeper as well. But I mean, they've got, you know, they're fighting all fronts. They're trying to rotate their squad. We saw what happened when they did it against Leeds. You know, it didn't work. I've been saying all week long, Chelsea, I think, have the strongest squad in terms of strength and depth behind Manchester City. There's a lot of good players in that Chelsea side. You know, when you go through that Chelsea team, you know, and you look at the Chelsea bench, you've got World Cup winners, Champions League winners, Premier League winners. It's a very, very strong side that they've got. There's a lot of talent. And if Tuchel can get it right, they can beat anybody, you know, on the day. And that's why I've said all along, yes, they can go on and win the Champions League if Tuchel gets it right, because they have some fantastic players, you know, within their ranks. It just didn't happen for Manchester City. You know, again, people will say, did Pep over tinker? Maybe a little bit, but he's done it all season. It's worked. So it wasn't like he changed the way that they played or they did anything particularly different. Chelsea were very, very good.
But at the back, we had the likes of Ziyech, and I'm not a pundit. I'm not a former footballer, but what I realized when you looked at the likes of Ziyech and when they were attacking Manchester City at the back, at least the back four or back three or whatever the back formation was, that's a funny term, back formation. He always delayed his runs, and to a point where he let City drop, and then he made his run, and then with his pace, he outguiled everyone. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's what I saw.
But he's an intelligent footballer. You know, we've seen Ziyech rip teams apart, you know, and that's why he got to move to Chelsea, you know, from Ajax, because he was sensational, especially in big games against the Champions League. You know, he's adaptable. He's got all this. He's got a fantastic skill set. He's brilliant at dribbling. He's fast. He scores goals. He gets in the back place. He's got a great football brain. All those things, and you know, and he's been in and out of the Chelsea side, and he's probably thinking, right, this is my chance to shine. You know, we're at Wembley. This is a big occasion, you know, for me and my football club. So, and he took that opportunity. And he's clearly a very, very intelligent player and thought, right, okay, how do I get space? How do I cause Manchester City problems in this situation? And you know, and you have to be adaptable as a player. You know, on the pitch, you know, football is very, very fluid. Players are always thinking, okay, I'm looking to cause you problems. So how do you find the solution? And you've got to be, you know, and that's why you've got to be thinking on your feet all the time. You know, it'd be like if you man mark Harry Kane, what's he going to do to break free of that? You know, he does something different, or Cristiano Ronaldo or Lionel Messi. And that's what sets apart, sort of great players from good players. They have the ability to adapt.
Don't shoot me down, because the last time I did say this, I think it was early on. And unfortunately, it's not you, Danny, because I know you know your stuff. I've worked with you on several occasions, starting from 2014, the World Cup. But at times there's this dilemma, especially with some pundits from your neck of the woods that do not watch European football as much. So when I said this to a friend of mine, Ziyech reminds me of a very young Angel Di Maria when he was playing in Portugal. There's something there. What's keeping him from going from Ziyech to the next Di Maria, who at one point in time was the best player for Argentina in that World Cup in 2014? Missed the finals, they didn't win.
I think he's got the potential to be better than Di Maria.
Wow.
But look at his skill. Look at what he's done for Ajax in big games. Look at what he's got all the tools, and we talk. I just mentioned that he's fantastic. He's got an incredible skill set. He scores goals. He can go either side. He can play either flank. He can run at people. But sometimes it's just playing consistently, at that level. Since he's come to Chelsea, he's been in and out of the side. He's been injured at times. He hasn't really had a great run in the side. Suddenly, if he gets that and he starts to get that confidence and that belief, then why can't he be the next Eden Hazard? There's no reason. Well, is his skill set any different from Eden Hazard? I don't think so. He's got all those same attributes. He's as quick as Hazard. He's got the ability to dribble like Hazard. Okay, he's not scoring as many goals as yet, but he could do, if he keeps improving. So he has the potential, to be that good, I think.
There's this notion, when you look at this Bayern Munich squad, I know I'm just going a bit further out. Physically, whichever player goes to Bayern Munich just ends up looking like Hulk Hogan after a span of 7 months. But when you
I thought they were looking like Roshan Urian.
No, I don't work out. All I do is just have a lot of salad, which is a lie. Vegetables are bad for you, by the way. But going back to Ziyech, that notion, when you are in the Premier League, you need to be physical. You've got to be a bit tough, bigger. You've got to be like a Lukaku to just run past players. Do you see that perhaps that the biggest problem for Ziyech, that he will fall under that notion where I need a bit of, I need to put on a bit more muscle?
No, I think, old adage, a good big un is better than a good little un, and that's if the skill set is exactly the same. So imagine Messi being 6'4" and no, realistically, and quicker. Wow, hang on a minute. Now you've got a completely different. The skill set's the same. Who would you pick? Would you pick the 5'4" one or the 6'4"? You pick the 6'4" one.
There's a 6'2" version of him called Cristiano Ronaldo, left foot, right foot, and can score with his head.
Not too dissimilar. But so you need pace and you need strength, and that will come, as you develop, to hold players off. As players get tight to you, you need to be able to keep the ball and not be pushed off the ball. But I think it's all relative. You have to have that slightness of foot, speed, power. Footballers are deceptively strong, deceptively powerful, deceptively quick, however slight they may look. Look at Mason Mount, rarely gets pushed off the ball. Declan Rice, he's not an absolute beast, is he? He's not in the gym pumping iron all the time, and he hasn't got muscles on muscles. But these Raheem Sterling, but they very rarely get pushed off the ball at times. So you develop strength in different ways. So I don't think you need to bulk up. It's all about core strength. It's all about balance, the ability to change direction and mixing that with speed. So I think Ziyech is absolutely fine.
Ziyech is absolutely fine, but I can't believe almost a year into the show, we will still talk about Paul Pogba and Jose Mourinho. I know a lot of people were going, "Oh no, not again." I went, "Oh, not again," because Pogba has come out and said blatantly, and I know this has been discussed, but my point of view is, why not? Why can't he finally defend himself? Because as good as Jose was, he did use Pogba as an excuse for his failures. Whatever Pogba and his agent did behind the scenes, I think time will tell. But doesn't Paul Pogba, as a player, have a right to defend himself against a man who's accused him of things?
And I don't have an issue with it in any way, shape, or form. And I thought Jose's reaction was great. I'm not bothered. I don't care. Well, why should Mourinho was quite comfortable with doing what he did. You know, he's obviously quite comfortable in his own skin, and he's very, very comfortable in making the decisions that he makes. You know,
Yeah.
Paul Pogba's had a go at him. He's done, yeah, so what? Whatever, move on. It's Bill. We know there's a little bit of a spat between them, but I think it's something out of nothing. Paul Pogba was asked a question. I think it's always a bit more dangerous as a player when you're talking about a manager that's been successful, because you never know where they're going to end up next. That's always a little bit of an issue, isn't it? But no, if Paul Pogba wants the right to respond, he has every right to say things. Clearly, they didn't get on. Clearly, there was an issue. Mourinho's never really come out and slaughtered Pogba too much. He's intimated, sort of several times, but
he's a virus. How can you not? I mean, that has not been proven whether he said it or not.
Yeah, but it's what I'm saying. So it's not like Mourinho's come out in an interview and go, you know what, Paul Pogba was X, Y, Z. He said, well, Paul Pogba's been left out of the team because he's not doing it at the moment. Paul Pogba's doing it, and then there's all the sort of the spin around it and everything else. But if they want to air their dirty washing in public, I've never heard Mourinho directly say Paul Pogba was a disgrace or Paul.
And that's a very scary thing, Danny. I mean, work-wise as well. In an office environment, I rather respect a person who has got something to say to me. They say it to my face as compared to have the little whispers. That there's a more. I will trust the guy who comes and tells it straight to my face.
So yeah, definitely. And I would think, hang on, Mourinho would have had to tell Pogba, "You're not playing today." And he would have asked him at the time, why am I not playing? I think probably Mourinho was maybe more direct with Pogba, and he didn't like it at the time. And Paul Pogba wasn't in great form at times, and maybe people did expect more of him. And now, a year on, 18 months on, whatever it is, why has it taken Paul Pogba 18 months to have his say? That's what I don't quite understand. Why wait so long? And it's interesting, as much as everybody says Mourinho is this bad man, and players don't like him and they all fall out with him. Has anybody ever really come out and slaughtered Mourinho? Where you think, allegedly it's gone wrong several times at football clubs. Even ex-players that have now retired. There aren't many that have ever come out and said, Mourinho was a disaster. He did this to me. I didn't like him. Treated me really badly. And so you start to think, well, hang on a minute. Is a lot of it spin? Is a lot of it what we portray in the media?
That's a fair enough question. So now there's the question whereby if he was given the captain's armband in the Europa League against Granada, there's a question again: will he stay? Will he go? But if he does go, do you think? I don't think Real Madrid is suited for him for some reason, because he'll get booed left, right, and center by their fans. Don't you think that the likes of Barcelona or perhaps Juventus, if they get a proper striker next season, is the perfect fit for him?
I think people will be wary of him and his power and his social media power and everything else. And some of his performances haven't been up to scratch. Where does he go if he leaves Manchester United? PSG, I think, is one of the only options for him. I don't think there's too many, but would Mauricio Pochettino take him? Knowing that, how we know he likes to run a tight ship. Has Pogba created something for himself where people are sort of going, I'm not sure about him. Because if it's
money, Danny, money, yeah, jersey sales.
But as a manager, he starts to go, you know what? I think we can go a different route to get somebody in maybe as good as that. So, who would you rather take right now? Would you take Mason Mount or would you take Pogba?
Commercially, Pogba, footballing wise, that's a hard one. Because Mason Mount, you'll get what you get.
Exactly.
And
he's not going to cause issues off the field. That's the difference. As a manager, you take Mason Mount.
That's a big shout. A very brave shout. And you've got it right with Mason Mount so far. Just a question about Barcelona. It's a team in transition. It's a bit lost. Yes, they did have a cup final victory. And God bless Messi once again delivering in a cup final apart from the World Cup. But wouldn't you think it's almost like a similar situation where Ronaldinho went into Barcelona and he transformed that club? It's screaming out for a guy like Paul Pogba. Yes, no? I think we have lost Danny Mills. It is completely fine. I think it's a perfect situation to exit this interview, because if it was any other way, it would just be a regular show on TV. Tell you what, catch all the highlights on her Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook account. And I give you my word, I will get an answer from Danny Mills. I think he just cut the call because he didn't want to answer that question. Nevertheless, till the next week, take care.